First date do's and don'ts. I'm gonna be breaking down a variety of different concepts, showing you guys exactly what to do and what you should definitely not do the next time you go on a first date. And before we get into this, if you're somebody who's not getting on any dates at all, you're not talking to enough women, and you want to achieve your dream dating life, click the link down below. I put together a brand new training. I talk more about my journey, the clients I help, and how I can help you achieve your dream dating life. Let's get into it. Starting out with the first one, which is the idea of splitting the bill. A very common question I get asked, Kyle, should I split the bill with the woman? Should we be spending all the money? What if I've been dating a girl and she's not really participating in spending the money too? Like, is that a red flag? It's a very common thing that I get asked. My perspective on this, especially when it comes to the first date, is that you as the man should be paying for the bill. All right, you asked her on the date, you're providing her an experience. Yes, she is showing up to the date too, but there's a lot of guys online that are like, well, if you're on the date with a woman, you know, she should be contributing. And I think it's actually more just that you guys either split the bill, or if you pay the first time, she should pay the next time. I don't really agree with that. I think that's honestly somewhat immature. And I think if you're a guy maybe in your early 20s or teenage years, okay, maybe that makes sense. But fellas, if you're trying to actually have your dream dating life, if you're building yourself up as a man, you're trying to be more established, and you're going on dates with quality women that you want in your life, you gotta pay the bill, bro. You gotta pay the bill. Like, the idea of splitting the bill to me is very immature, and you'll get the woman to start investing into the idea of you guys dating in different ways. It's not I pay for date one, she pays for date two. She will slowly start to contribute and invest more as she starts to like you more and more and more. So the idea of splitting the bill, I completely disagree with. I'm putting this in the C tier. Let's move into the next one, which is the idea of Netflix and chill. Now, there's something I like about this, but there's actually a lot that I don't like about it, because the idea of Netflix and chill has now become widely known as this idea that you're gonna come over, I'm gonna put on Netflix, and we're gonna end up hooking up. So there's this really bad correlation around you coming over and just watching Netflix. It implies that this is just gonna be a sexual experience, and I'm using Netflix as an idea for you to just come over so we could get sexual. Now, if you want a woman to come over and hang out and watch TV and potentially get sexual, nothing against you for that, but there's better ways to present this. So don't present it as Netflix and chill, because again, there's a negative correlation around that. If anything, you want some sort of activity going on at your place other than just Netflix. There's just too much sexual assumption around that, and it's correlated with not really connecting, one night stands, very, very casual sex. And so I recommend not bringing that up or framing things that way. Instead, what I would do is actually have something going on at your apartment or very near your place that you can invite the woman to come do that activity with you. And then once you're done with that activity, you just so happen to already be by your place. That way it's not solely just about turning the TV on and doing the thing. One activity that I used to do a lot when I was in my late 20s was I would talk to the woman about how much I like to cook. I'm really big into cooking. My dad was a chef, my grandma was a chef, and so I've been cooking pretty much since I was 12 years old. I'm really good at these type of recipes. And then I would tease and joke that I'm a better cook than she is. Chef Kyle doesn't just cook for anybody. It's like this earned privilege, or if I'm gonna be cooking, well then what are you contributing to the meal? I would run this sort of conversation thread when I met her, and so that allowed me to frame the idea of the date as I'm cooking, you're bringing these items, you're contributing to the meal, this will be a nice fun experience. It wasn't around come chill because I'm horny, right? So when you frame it under like, let's hang out, let's do some sort of activity, let's connect, you're gonna be in a much better position to make something happen. For all of those reasons, the idea of Netflix and chill, I'm putting in the C tier personally. Let's move into the next idea, which is gonna be sitting next to her on a date. I think this is amazing. I don't think most men do this enough on a first date. I was the guy that would go on dates and we would just sit at some restaurant and I would sit across from her, and I was thinking, how do I talk her into really liking me? And we'd have this really long conversation. Maybe we would even connect, but there wasn't any flirting. There was zero touching, zero physicality. And it would have been really hard for me to even reach over the table to even touch her. And so as I got more experience dating more and more, I realized that, hey, when the girl's sitting next to me, there's a lot more opportunity and it's a lot more effortless to just put my hand out and touch her. It's not a big deal. It just happens almost accidentally because I'm just talking like this and our arms are already touching, our legs are already touching. And then it's easy when we're on the couch later. So yes, I do think sitting next to her is amazing. Be aware, because you may not be able to start the date off just sitting completely next to her. I have a memory when I went out on a date with a girl that I was actually really attracted to. I was about 28, 29 years old at the time. And when we got to the place, I told her to sit next to me because I was thinking, yeah, I want her to sit next to me. And she was a little hesitant to do so. She even said, I'm gonna start over here. Let me have like at least one glass of wine to get started. And so it wasn't a big deal. And later on in the date, we actually ended up sitting next to each other at this fire pit. But one thing I did notice was the way that I went about it on that date, I wasn't that comfortable or confident with it. And it sounded a little forced and I got a little bit of resistance on the front end for doing that. So sitting next to her can be really powerful. Don't force it at the very beginning of the date. I'd much rather you have movement to the date with different locations, different opportunities for different seating. And so if it doesn't happen right away, it can happen as the date progresses later on. But also it's gonna be on you as the man to take that initiative. Like most likely if you're just sitting back and you're not proactive with it, the girl's gonna be polite and just sit across and it will stay that way unless you suggestively lead that you change the seating. And that should be done in a fun, reassuring, not a big deal type of a way, because it's not a big deal. But for all of these reasons, I'm actually putting sitting next to her in the S tier of things that you should do on a date. I think it creates a massive opportunity for physicality, more intimacy. She'll get more accustomed to your touch. And it's just easier to build up a vibe when you're sitting very close to somebody. Let's move into the next one, which is gonna be the abrupt kiss goodbye. So I've gone on dates before. When I first started actually going on dates consistently, I had this problem that I wasn't getting physical with women, I wasn't touching them, and I really wasn't kissing any of them either. And so when I started trying to go for the kiss towards the end of the date, I have a distinct memory of going on multiple dates with this one woman where I didn't make the move, and I told myself on this next date with her, I'm gonna just go for it. I don't care what happens, I don't care if I get rejected, anything but not making the move. And so at the end of the date, she actually said goodbye, and she turned to give me her cheek, and I kissed her on the cheek, but then as she moved away, I then went in and abruptly just leaned in for the kiss goodbye, and we actually started making out. It really was an awesome makeout for like 15 or 20 seconds. I was shocked that it actually went down, but more importantly, I grew as a man that day because I finally just manned up and went for it. And so the abrupt kiss goodbye can actually be good for several reasons. Number one, if you're a dude who's not comfortable with physicality, not comfortable going for it, I would much rather you just go for it at the end of the date versus doing nothing and just pussying out and you never made a move, because you're just not gonna grow as a man that way, right? So this is a good move to just kind of build confidence if you're at lower levels. And then also another interesting reason, I was talking to a client recently on a coaching call, and he says no matter what, he likes to go for it because it's a good ping to see how did the date go, even though it's not the best move. Like ideally you escalate a little bit more smoothly throughout the date using some of the concepts we'll talk about in this. But if nothing else, just go for it at the end, because you'll kind of get a feel for, was the potential there for me to kiss her earlier? Or if she rejects it, maybe there was no potential, I kind of missed the window altogether. So I do think the abrupt kiss goodbye is not the best, but it's better than not going for it at all. And so I'm actually gonna put this in the B tier. Let's move into the next one, which is gonna be taking her to a fancy dinner date. Now, I don't like this for the first date because number one, this is gonna start to become really expensive over time if you keep taking girls on fancy dinners. Most of these fancy dinners, you're gonna be sitting across from the woman. You're gonna end up eating a relatively big meal if it's a 5-course meal. So it's expensive, it's very calorie consuming, there's not much opportunity to get closer to each other, and it starts to kind of create this interview type feel to it. Now, can you have a good fancy dinner date? Yes. Ideally, there's other things going on the date as well though. Like just sitting across from each other at an expensive restaurant, it's not my personal preference. I think there's a lot of other things that you could do that are better than this, but the idea of dinner is good. It's very widely accepted for dates, and going to a fancy spot, the girl dresses up. And so there's some good things, a lot of bad things with it. Overall, I'm putting this in the B tier. Let's move on to the next one, which is buying her flowers. Okay, this is an interesting one that I actually get asked a decent amount. Like, hey, is it a good idea to buy the woman flowers? My personal thoughts on the first date, I just think it's too early. I think it's too big of a gesture too early on when you don't even know the woman. Same thing to the fancy Michelin star dinner. It's too much too soon when you don't even know the woman. I do think that both of these things can be really good in dating as a whole. I just think on the front end, it's a little too soon. So if you haven't even gotten to know the woman, don't think that spending the money on the front end is what's gonna wow her. It's gonna be your personality, it's gonna be the experience as a whole, it's gonna be the level that you guys connect on. All of those things are so much more important than these other concepts of dating. Now, look, if you've been spending time, the girl's special to you, you guys really connect, everything's going well, you wanna buy flowers at some point, awesome. Do it. There's flowers on the counter in the kitchen right now that I bought my girlfriend, right? But I didn't do that on the very first date. That's just a little too soon in my opinion. So I would hold off on that. I'm putting the idea of buying her flowers on first date at the bottom, C tier. Especially in USA with American women, I just think it's too grandiose of a gesture too soon. Let's move into the next one, which is starting the date off with intent. So that means the moment you see the girl, you give her a nice little hug and you tell her just off rip, wow, you actually look really cute tonight. I like how blah, 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 right? You just say some sort of intentful line about the woman the moment the date starts. Now, there's a lot of men out there, because I've said this on different videos, there's a lot of men that are saying, why would you give your power away at the beginning of the date? That's too much validation at the beginning of a date. To me, I completely disagree with that. This woman just blocked out 3 hours of her time to spend an evening with you, got ready, put her makeup on, got dressed, looking as attractive as possible, and she now is coming out to see you. You telling her you think she looks cute tonight does not make you a chump. That does not make you a simp. That does not make you beta. That does not mean you're some blue pill loser. That's not what that means. Actually, I think it's really good when it comes from a confident place. You don't give your power away by giving out a compliment. You give your power away when you're completely sold head over heels and you keep pedestalizing the woman throughout the entire date. But any one line is not going to overvalidate. Any one line is not going to give your power away. I actually think it's really good because it sets the tone for the rest of the date. Most men, from my experience, they don't escalate enough. They don't get flirty enough. And so they wait and wait and wait on the date to then escalate, to then flirt. And it puts more pressure on yourself the longer and longer and longer the date goes on without you doing these things. And that was me too. I would go on a bunch of dates. I never made a move. I was afraid to flirt. I was afraid to display intent. It became this high pressure thing. And the more time I spent with the girl, the more I liked her. And then it became even more difficult to do it. The moment I just started starting the date off just by doing it, it got it out the way. It wasn't a big deal. And now it's easier to continue acting like that guy because I was that guy from the fucking beginning of the date, right? So I actually think this is amazing for most men that want to get better with dates and flirting and escalating, which is where a lot of nice guys struggle, honestly. So I'm putting this in the S tier. If you're somebody that's not landing dates consistently, you're not escalating on dates, you're not doing these things properly, and you want to accelerate your progression, click the link down below. I'd love to have the opportunity to work with you directly to achieve your dream dating life. Link is in the description. There's an in-depth training down there too, where I talk more about my journey, the clients I've helped, my coaching program details, and how I can help you get the same type of results in your life right now. Click that link down below. Let's move into the next one, which is going to be the idea of offering a massage. So you're hanging out, you guys are on the date, and you bring up this idea of giving the woman a massage. I like this for a lot of reasons. There's one or two that I'm not crazy about, but the reason I like it is because automatically, if you're confident with giving a massage, now we have physicality going. Women also love massages. So assuming she's down for it and she allows you to massage her, there's a lot of touching going on. There's a lot of good emotion. There's a little bit of arousal that's naturally going to be sprinkled into that if you can give a good massage. And it's not that hard to learn this stuff. You could literally just type it in on YouTube and you get you buy a $5 to $10 product off of Amazon for the massage oil or whatever it is. And then you have a candle and a nice little towel at your place. Like, very easy to set up, very inexpensive, great skill set to have. The problem with this though is that it's similar to Netflix and chill, where it puts this assumption that things might start to get sexual around it, right? So what you don't want to do is offer the massage in a way where it implies that you're doing this because you want to try to get closer and get more sexual with it. So be careful the way that you present it to the woman. If you are going to say it, especially if you suspect that she might interpret it that way, you could decrease the amount of investment in it and make it sound like I'm not going to get you into my bedroom and take your clothes off. I'm going to oil up your whole body. It could just be something more where you're touching her already. There's been a little bit of physicality. Maybe you're running your hand up her back or on her neck, and you're touching her a little bit, and you're maybe even complimenting her skin. You're talking into her ear a little bit, and you could just tell her like, oh my God, your skin's so smooth. I almost want to like massage you just for a little bit. Nothing too crazy, right? Don't get any ideas. You see how I threw out that idea, and I also completely took the idea of sex or anything crazy happening. I took that completely off the table. So just be careful how you're offering the massage, right? You can be confident with it and display that you have confidence around giving the massage, but don't frame it in a way where I just want to massage you and oil you up and get you into my bed with your clothes off and just massage your whole body, because girls are going to be like, he's doing that to have sex with me. So if you present it, be sure you present it in a way where you take the idea off the table, and that will kind of disarm them and allow you to get a little bit further with it. And so for all of those reasons, I do like the idea of a massage. I'm going to put this at the bottom of the A tier. You just got to be careful with the way that you're presenting it. Let's move into the next one, which is going to be dinner and a movie. Now, this is a classic idea of a date. There's some good things about this, there's some bad things. The good things is that there's gonna be multiple locations and activities going on, because we have this idea of grabbing food, and then we're gonna go to this place and watch this movie. So there's multiple locations, which is good. The things I don't like about it is dinners can get really expensive if you're doing them consistently, or you end up eating a lot of calories. And if you're taking her to the movie theater, you're pretty much just sitting down in front of a screen, not even really connecting. The way that I would like this, which is a little bit more ideal, is that maybe we watch the movie at my place. It doesn't need to be on the first date either. It can be good. I just don't think it's the best idea. I think it's a little cliche. The idea of dinner and a movie is like one of the most common ideas for a date. I just think there's a lot better ideas that you could be doing. So overall, I'm actually putting this at the high end of the C tier. I think there's so much better stuff that you could do on a date personally. Let's go into the next thing, which is the idea of opening doors for the woman when you're on the date, right? Being a gentleman, making sure you open the door for her. Or wait, is that gentleman, or is that you being a complete simp? Are you beta? Oh my God, he's so beta because he opened the door. Fucking pushover, weak little guy. I actually completely disagree with that too. This is similar to the one about starting the date with intent. There's a lot of guys that think that starting the date with intent is giving away validation. There's a lot of men out there that think opening doors for a woman is being beta and a pushover and being soft. I completely disagree. I don't think that any one thing will make you soft or make you a pushover. In fact, I actually think that this is being a gentleman, being polite. But pay attention to the demeanor around this, because if you're buying her flowers and you're opening doors and you're too complimentary and you're a really nice guy, but you're not teasing at all, you're not having any playful negative spikes into the interaction, you haven't displayed any sort of like confidence in yourself, and you're very, very nice guy, then yeah, that guy, it's gonna make him look like a simp. But honestly guys, like if you look cool, you have a good vibe, you're a confident guy, you're well established, she wants a dude who could actually open the doors. There's nothing wrong with that. That's actually very attractive. And you just say it in a flirty way. You look at her and be like, come on, of course I got you. I'm a gentleman. What'd you expect? I actually, as I said that, I have a joke. The same woman that I told you about earlier, where I tried to sit next to her initially, later on I pulled the chair out for her and she sat down when we sat next to the fire pit, and she said, oh, you're such a gentleman. And then later on we were leaving and I had her grab my arm, which is another great date idea, which by the way, I don't even know if this is something that's on this list, but if you have her grab your arm. Now we were walking away from the fire pit, headed back to the car, and as we got closer to the car, I said, hold on, let me get the door for you. And she started laughing, because there was this nice balance throughout the whole date. Like there was a little bit of cockiness, there was a little bit of flirtiness, there was a little bit of sexual tension, there was a little bit of teasing and playful negative spikes. And so when you have that balance, and you do the gentleman things, the simpy things, now they actually hit really hard, because you're not this nice guy, simp, beta dude who's doing these things to please the woman. You're a confident man who's coming from a place of, I want to take care of my woman, and I have no shame in doing that, but I'm also not afraid to give her a little bit of shit. That's the balance right there. That's the balance that you want that's gonna hit really hard. And so as I brought her to the car, I opened the door, I gave her a kiss on the cheek, I said, come on, you know I'm a gentleman. And we had a quick little laugh about it. I put her in the car, I closed the door, got onto the other side, and it worked very, very well. So for all of those reasons, when it's done properly, opening doors is very powerful. I'm actually putting this at the top of the A tier. Let's move into the next one, which is gonna be inviting her straight to your house. Now, there's a right way and a wrong way to do this. You don't want to invite her straight to your place, and it implies that you have some sort of sexual expectation and we're just chilling at my house, because a lot of women will think of like, okay, that's a little too soon for me to go to your place, and I don't know what you're thinking is gonna go on there. And so for all of those reasons, it's a no, right? That's not how you do it. But there are certain opportunities, like when I was running a lot of first dates, there was a lot of opportunities for me to invite women over where we would meet at my house. I would then show them a quick tour of my place, show them the family dog, show them my apartment really quick, and then we would go out on a date to a nearby area. I would either Uber her over, or she would drive over, or she would bring something to the place. I would have her put her stuff inside. I would either introduce her to the dog or just show her my new apartment, depending on where I was living at the time. And I would show her the place. We would then go out from there. And that actually gets her already really comfortable with your place. It doesn't put pressure on her coming over, because you're not just going straight to your place and there's this sexual expectation of what's gonna be going on, and she's just chilling at some stranger's house that she just met. She can come in very briefly under a time constraint that I'm just showing her this thing, and then we leave to go do an activity. That will allow her to actually spend some time, get familiar with the area that you're at, and then later, towards the end of the date, it's much easier for her to now come back to your place because she was already there. It wasn't weird. There's no sexual expectation. So this can be powerful with certain women. There needs to be some sort of vibe and trust already built up. So if you guys have already known each other, you've been talking for a little while, or if you ran a good initial interaction, like there's a couple approaches that I actually have on camera where the interaction went 15 minutes plus. And those women, I even talked about us hanging out at my spot next time on my balcony for coffee. And I was able to get those women to come straight over to my house for the date. But pay attention to the way that I framed it. So if there's trust and you position it properly, it can work, but there's a lot of times where it won't work. And so for all of those reasons, I'm gonna put this in the B tier. Let's move into the next idea, which is the idea of holding hands on the date. I think this can also be very powerful if done properly, because when it comes to holding hands, you don't want to take the girl's hand and you're holding it so long to the point where she's uncomfortable and then she moves away. But holding hands can be good when it's done in bursts. I would just recommend that you're the one that actually moves it away. So that shouldn't be the first type of physical escalation. Throughout the date, you start sitting a little bit closer, there's light touching going on, and then at some point, maybe there's an opportunity for her to grab your hand. Maybe you're looking at her rings or her bracelet or her nails that she just got done, or some sort of cheesy palm reading joke thing, or you're showing her something about your hands, like your watch or your bracelet or your fucking hand tats or whatever it is, right? And at some point, you could actually grab her hand or even massage it or just touch it very briefly, or you have a moment where you guys do a high five and then it turns into a handhold. Or like I said earlier in this, I had the girl grab my arm while I was walking with her. The arm hold while you're walking could transition into holding hands. Just don't hold it so long to the point where she's breaking it off. Anytime I get away with some sort of physical escalation, I want to make sure I'm the one breaking it off to make her feel safe and comfortable. And as a result of that, it will actually allow me to do it again the next time and maybe even go a little bit further. So for all those reasons, I'm actually putting holding hands in the A tier. Moving into the next one, taking her to multiple locations on the date. This is a must. If you're sitting in one location, it's simply not as engaging when you're in different environments. You have multiple opportunities to lead. In each environment, there's gonna be different seating, different opportunities to get closer to her, to touch her, to talk about different things. It will also strengthen the memory that you guys have of each other. So at the end of the date, when she thinks back about everything that happened, if you were just in one location, there's really like one main memory. 3 locations means 3 memories, right? Or even more than 3 memories, because if you're going to different locations, you're also like taking a car there or walking to that next spot. And so there's actually even more than just 2 locations, because there's the transportation location as well. And so for all of those reasons, you want to make sure your date has at least 2 locations in it, or even if you're just staying at one place, ideally there's different places within the venue that you could move around to. So this is an absolute must. I think it's one of the most powerful techniques, along with sitting next to her, which these kind of go hand in hand, right? Because if you're multiple locations, different opportunity for seating. This is an absolute must. I'm putting this in the S tier. Gotta do this one. Let's move into the next concept, which is inviting her to come cuddle. Asking her if she's good at cuddling. The problem with inviting her to come cuddle is that she knows why you're bringing that up. Cuddling, it implies that you know what's going to be going on. So very similar to the massage, that if you bring up these ideas, you need to blatantly take sex off the table. So if you're mentioning cuddling, if we're talking about being in bed, or we're talking about these things, and you bring up the idea of cuddling, you need to then take it off the table before she does. You need to say, and seriously, like, that's all we're doing. Don't get any expectations. Right? So you need to give her that disclaimer. You say it in a fun, playful way, but it's important that you bring that up, because what you don't want is you bring it up and then she says, no, I'm good, I know what you're thinking. And then you kind of like lost that situation. So I'd much rather you bring it up if it makes sense. Don't just at the end of the date be like, hey, you want to come cuddle? Like, that's random. If you're already talking about TV, or you're talking about, you know, how cozy your bed is, and you're talking about, I don't know, how many pillows you have in the bed and stuff, you could ask her playfully, like, are you a good cuddler? Or do you like big spoon or little spoon? Like, that's how you could start to bring up this idea. I just think it's a little bit of a cheesy idea. I think you could be a little bit more witty and have something else going on at your place, unless the interaction is already very sexual. If it's been very sexual, we've been making out, it's getting hot and heavy, and we're talking about going home, okay, it kind of makes sense in that place. But again, I just think it's predictable. And if you're gonna bring it up, make sure that you take the idea of sex off the table, at least in that moment, as a means of getting her to agree to do it. And then later on, you know, you could see how things progress and if it makes sense to go further. So for all of those reasons, I'm putting this in the B tier. Let's move into the next one, which is talking about exes while you're on the date. I'm not crazy about this. I don't think it's by any means something that you need to bring up, but at some point, most likely the girl will bring it up. So I do think it's okay to talk about. Just avoid going on that half-hour talk where she's crying, talking about her ex-boyfriend, or you go on some long-winded rant, or you end up talking about your ex in a very negative way. I think talking about exes is okay because it will actually indirectly show you who she is. If she's talking negatively about her partner in the past, or if she says some really negative qualities, pay attention, because as bad as that person was, she dated that person. She voluntarily had that person in her life. And also it shows you just kind of her viewpoint on how she views her last relationship. So talking about exes is okay. Don't get lost in this topic. If you're talking about yours, keep it, you know, relatively short and sweet, especially on the first date, and pay attention to how she's answering these questions. So for all of these reasons, I don't encourage you to be proactively going into it, but I'm gonna put it in the B tier, because if it's done right, there's some value that can be extracted. Bottom of the B tier. If you're somebody who's not getting on any dates at all, you're not talking to enough women, and you want to achieve your dream dating life, click the link down below. I put together a brand new training. I talk more about my journey, the clients I help, and how I can help you achieve your dream dating life. Let's move into the next one, which is gonna be making sexual jokes or innuendos early on. This one could be perceived slightly controversial, I think. I actually like it. I'm not talking about making dirty, vulgar, sexual jokes that are abrupt and making the girl uncomfortable. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about a slight sexual joke that's delivered in a fun way, or a cocky way, or a playful way, and it's not over the top, it's not vulgar, it fits the situation. So sexual jokes and innuendos, I actually encourage men to do that, as long as you're not going too far with it. Because I think most men play things way too safe, and they're like super, super nice guy and very soft with things. I do think women are naturally very sexual by nature. They're very perverted. They like to talk about these things with people they're comfortable with. And so if you're a guy who's comfortable and confident bringing this stuff up in the conversation, when it's done properly, you're not going over the top in a perverted way, or like an overly sexual way, but slight sexual jokes, little innuendos here and there, very powerful. Especially with the innuendos, the woman will have to interpret in her mind that it was a sexual joke, so there's really less pressure on you. But most women are a little perverted or naughty. They catch most of these jokes, so it can be a great one without taking too much of a risk. But just avoid going over the top or being too much of the immature, that's what she said, that's what she said, that's what she said. Like, try not to do too much of that stuff. But really powerful thing, because it displays actual some level of sexual confidence without really talking about you and the woman. It can create a very judgmental, free place where the girl can start to let loose and maybe even talk about some of these topics later on with you. So for all of those reasons, I'm actually putting this in the A tier. I think most men need to actually get more comfortable diving into these topics at least a little bit more when they're on dates. Let's move into the next one, talking about marriage or kids on the first date. Whoa, that's moving fast, right? I actually think it's okay. It just depends on your intentions when it comes to dating. So for some men, this might be a big no-no. If you're more on the casual side and you're really just trying to have a bunch of experiences, okay, that's probably something to refrain from. But for most men, like a lot of the clients that I work with, most of these men are in their 30s, 40s, 50s. I even have guys in their 60s in my programs. A lot of these guys, they are dating with some level of intention. Maybe they don't need their wife today, but they are dating because they want to start to have more of an abundant dating life and ultimately have a serious partner and ultimately be in a happy family, marriage, wife and kids type situation. And so if you are dating with some level of intention, I think there's a right way and a wrong way to talk about this. You don't need to start going crazy in depth with what you want in marriage and where you want kids and when you want kids by. But if it's something that you're considering down the road, I think the way that I would answer that question would be something like, honestly, I'm open to it. I'm not looking to get married like next month by any means. But yeah, if I envision my life, I think ultimately I want a quality partner in my life that I connect with, and I would be open to starting a family with them at some point. So you don't need to just set deadlines and weird expectations, but talking about the idea at some point, if it aligns with what you want, I do think that's good. So for all those reasons, I'm actually putting this in the B tier. We only got a couple more here, so let's get into the next one, which is gonna be inviting friends to join mid-date. Personally, I do not like this one, especially for a first date. I don't think that bringing your friends into the date is going to have any sort of enhancement to the date. If anything, this is gonna cause a distraction. Your friends might kill the vibe. They might say some weird shit. They're gonna take away from an opportunity for you guys to get more intimate and connect on deeper levels. So I don't like it. I would avoid this at all costs. There is some people out there that say if she's gonna try to invite you to hang out with her friends on the date, then completely avoid it. I think, look, if there's an opportunity to hang out with a woman, even if her friends are there, I'm gonna go because I know that I can run a group interaction really well and I can still find ways to make it flirty, and it's not just gonna be a friendly group activity, and I'll find a way to have the friends really approve of me and connect with me, and I'll have fun with them too. So actually getting approval from her friend group can be really powerful. I just don't think that you should be inviting your friends into the date. So if it's you inviting your friends to join in on mid-date, first date, complete no-go. You're actually hindering the potential of you guys connecting and building up the vibe and eventually getting intimate. But if her friends are there and it's the only way that I can actually hang out with her, then I'm gonna do it. I'd rather hang out and run a great interaction versus missing an opportunity to make something happen with that woman. So for all of those reasons, inviting friends, I'm putting it on the C tier. Let's move into the last one, which is using names like babe or sweetheart on the date. Now, believe it or not, I actually like this one. I know that this might sound crazy or corny. Personally, I don't like the idea of sweetheart. I think that's a little weird, but something I used to do on a lot of first dates. I wouldn't do it at the beginning. This would be maybe 2 hours into the date, where 2 hours in, it's already been flirty, it's already been touchy, we're getting a little more intimate. Maybe we kissed, maybe we didn't, but we're later on in the date. And at some point, when I tease her or when there's this moment where I'm like disappointed or playfully disappointed, I'll throw in something like, damn babe, what the fuck? I'll just very, very subtly throw in a damn babe, you disappointed me. Damn babe, it's like that? Wow, that's fucked up. Something like that. It's a very, very subtle thing, and most women won't even realize it if the vibe is already kind of lovey-dovey, attraction building up, especially when it's snuck in around an idea of you being disappointed about something, like how I just demonstrated. It will be very accepted in that context. And the moment it gets accepted, and then I can say it over and over again, it creates a really powerful effect, because there's been moments where I do it once or I do it twice, and then later on we're actually already kissing and stuff, and now I'm like, we kiss for a little bit and I'm like, damn baby, I'm so fucking turned on, right? You could say something, you could throw that in, and it just creates this dynamic where we're already talking to each other like we're a couple. Right? It's very rare that she would experience that with somebody other than someone she's already been intimate with, she's already really connected with. So I do like throwing in the word babe very subtly. You don't want to throw it in at the wrong time with the wrong context, because then women will call you on like, did you just call me babe? And you're like, maybe I did. Did I? So you can just call it playfully, or if she's like, whoa, it's too soon for names, you're like, yeah, we gotta chill out. I'm gonna call you Mrs. Johnson. right? So you just make, no matter what, you can get away with anything on this list if you come from the right frame, if you're confident, if you're fun with it, if it's not a big deal. Women will accept these things, and when a lot of these things are done properly, they're really powerful. All the techniques that I mentioned throughout this, especially if you do them properly, man, you can absolutely crush the first date. And so for that reason, I'm actually putting this one in the A tier. Just avoid using corny names like sweetheart or pumpkin and doing it at the wrong time. That's cheesy, and I don't like that technique at all. Now, all of these moves are great, but if you don't know how to actually structure out the date properly, you're not gonna be able to run it successfully. Okay, so if you wanna know how to run a first date step by step, be sure to watch this video right here. Or if you're done watching content, you've watched enough content, you're not actually getting the results you want in your own life, you can work with me directly to achieve your dream dating life. There's a brand new in-depth training I put together. The link is in the description. Go check that out. It talks more about my journey, the clients I help, and how I can help you achieve your dream dating life right now. All right, click the link down below for an opportunity to work with me directly. That's all for this video, guys. Peace out.